what I want to talk about here is when somebody's trying to escape the bottom using only instinctive body movements, meaning they don't know jujitsu, right? Or they know jujitsu but they're tired. They're almost the same thing, right? When we get tired enough or worried enough or trapped enough, sometimes we start making the same mistakes. If Jeff wants to push me off, pushes me straight up, for example, we could attack, right? But if I just want to maintain mount, not armbar this guy, then I'll swim through his arms. And this is the high swim. I'm way up here. So I'm going to lift one of my shoulders off his hand, swing my hand inside, and then I'm just beelining to the mat. Nothing lateral. I'm not trying to push his arm out. I lift off and swim directly in, lift off and swim directly in the other one, and then I'm back down here. Now watch. If I do this without lifting my shoulder off, there's a ton of friction and it's difficult. The stronger he is, the more friction there is, the more difficult it is. But if he pushes me up and I lift off of his arm, there's no friction. He's not connected to me in any way, so I can swim inside real easy. High swim, lift off, swim inside, and get back up. If he puts his hands on my chest right now, he's pretty strong. He'll be able to bench me up. And if I'm low, and I'll do a courtesy turn here, but if I'm low and I'm like actually on his head, then it's harder to bench press me. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, right? But it's harder. When we practice the techniques that we do, we can be here, but I want you to know that when you're trying to maintain mount, one of the pieces of it really is to smother the person. And part of what happens when I take away that space is they get claustrophobic and they do start making mistakes. That includes people who know jiu-jitsu. People who know jiu-jitsu, you smother them that much, they start get away from me. Like people start having their little claustrophobic moments. If I'm not on top of somebody and they start pushing on my knees as if to take me off like a skirt and like leave up to the north, I'm gonna reach under his wrist and just pop it upwards with like a spatula hand from underneath. Same thing on both sides. In fact, I don't need to sit up to do this. I can stay down and pop them one at a time. Even better than just popping it off is preventing him from getting it again. And I could do that by stepping my knee a little higher into his armpits. Higher is always better from a control perspective for me. If I get up into his armpits, it's harder for him to escape. If he puts his hands on my chest or on my ribs and pushes me sideways, yes, this is the other idea, is to throw me off completely. I'm gonna hook his head and post, hook and post. If I'm connected to him, he can't push me further than he can reach. If he pushes me the other way, on my way back, it's hook and post, hook and post. He might push not my chest or shoulders up or sideways, but he might push my stomach. So he might put his hands in my stomach and kind of push me down him. Same thing, so he's pushing me down, and the idea is that he thinks I'll fall off. If somebody puts their hands on your stomach, yeah, to push, then I'm not gonna be able to swim inside of this. So instead I peel one or both of them away. One is usually sufficient, because then I'm just gonna turn my body and collapse. So I'm here, if he starts pushing my stomach, I'm gonna peel one out and just collapse down, and I should be able to stay on top. I don't think you really need to peel both out. I think that's extra movement. As soon as it's asymmetrical for him, he loses pushing power, so he starts pushing my stomach, or low enough on me that I can't swim. I'm gonna peel one out and then just crush down. And we're back to where we were, okay? And another place he could push is my hip joint. So he could push right where my legs meet my body. Yeah, this is a good one. And jiu-jitsu people do this too. So this is actually good. When he finds structure and he starts pushing my structure. So the reason this works, I just want to explain first so that what I tell you to do makes sense, is I'm shaped like a V right here. So he can get a really good purchase on me at the hips. So when he pushes at that V, he is able to possibly even elevate me even off of him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away this vertex where my body meets my hips by hipping forward. Now that doesn't exist anymore, the structure is harder to make a connection with, and then I can just clear one or both from the inside like this. Okay, so if he starts pushing my hips, if I hip forward, I should be able to strip one or both of these just from the inside. And hopefully you guys see what I mean, where I was, this is a nice V right here. It's really easy to get a push on. But when he starts pushing it and I take it away, his hands start to slide off, and that's when I can take one or both away. If Lamar sits up, like comes up to his forearm, so come up to one side, yes, exactly. And then he could do one of a couple things with the arm in front, He can bulldoze me with the forearm, or he can reach around my back and just bulldoze me with his body. This is to knock me off, right? Essentially, when it's an emergency, and it was a mistake I made to give him enough space to sit up. Because again, if I'm here and I tell him to sit up to a forearm, like, it's going to be way harder. I'm in the way, and that's on purpose. So somewhere along the way, I left too much space, and he's able to sit up. What I'm going to do, our move from here, as soon as he comes up to his elbow, is I'm going to hook anything. It can be his shoulder. Sometimes you can reach the arm. Shoulder's fine. And I'm going to put my shoulder on the grabbing arm way over there. Way over here. So you notice I'm looking away from him. I look away and I put the shoulder on the ground. That's what matters. So if I come down to here, this may not be low enough. I really want to look away and put this shoulder down, right? But I'm going to make a connection. Now I'm trying to put my shoulder down over here. This isn't something that takes a lot of effort. It's just I'm using leverage against it, essentially like the others. I sat up. I left too much space. I make a connection, and then I put my shoulder, look away from him, put my shoulder on the ground over here. That's to put somebody back down, and it's a timing thing, and I am making up for the fact that I goofed earlier by leaving too much space. So far we've talked about all of the instinctual movements that somebody might do to get out of mount that involve pushing or setting themselves up to push you off, etc. And that is one of the most common instinctual movements. Another is, especially if they think you're going to hit them, another is holding. So if somebody holds your hands or wrists, this is common, especially if she thinks I'm going to hit her. So if I got mount and she sees them, she'll grab them. If she grabs them, I just want you guys to put your hands on the mat. That's it. What's more important than hitting them, even if I wanted to, is keeping my position. And keeping my position is going to come down to just having all the legs of the table in place. So she grabs my wrist so that I don't hit her. I'm just going to do this. It's going to be very hard to stop me from doing that. She could try to push them against me. But again, if I'm using my weight and I come down, now I'm just in a good mount and her arms are in a bad position. So I can actually slide my knees up and be in a worse position for her. If instead of your wrist, somebody grabs your body in a hug, and she could do this because she is afraid I'm going to hit her too. She's just hugging me to her and she's trying to, So it may be obvious to a jiu-jitsu person that her arms are out of position, and I'm not even necessarily going to do an arm bar right here, but I am going to improve my position. I can come way up under the armpits here, and I'm still holding the person down. We're going to say this was basically my objective, was to get on top and hold the person down till help arrived or till they calm down and we can negotiate, okay, let's stop fighting. Again, with the consideration that this might not be someone you want to fight or hurt, but that you're just controlling them. She controls my body like this. I'm just going to turn this into a better controlling mount. So I'm going to get a high mount, and again, I can be creating that claustrophobic situation to hold that person down. This is just mount maintenance, not necessarily submission. If they grab my head, if I'm on top, and the holding that they do, the instinctive holding that they do, is my head. That's sort of the other one that's going to be really common. Yeah, if she holds my head down, a lot of times they'll connect their hands and they get like this nice sort of headlock thing. What I'm going to do is bring my knee up behind her head and step my foot up. Knee up behind the head, step my foot up in front of her. I'm going to put my frame in the neck, come inside the hoop of her arms to hold my wrist, and I'm going to lean north, straight out the top of her head, not forward at all. My pressure is, it's not up. I'm actually not trying to break her grip like this. That'll just give you a sore neck tomorrow. I am going down because the pressure of my arm is uncomfortable, so I'm adding weight. And I'm going up here where she's weaker. When her arm is open at the armpit, she's weaker. So when we go up here, people are much weaker. I'll be able to break that grip. From here, I have an arm bar attack. I could do the arm bar. But if I just weave here and I catch her arm, pinch her arm here, this is also a really good place to negotiate. I can hold her wrist if I'm afraid of her punching. I can pin it. I can pin her arm. So this is good right here. This is I'm still in mount, but I'm in a very good negotiating position. So we have to have an answer to when she reaches over my forearm and crushes it down. Okay. So first is just a little postural defense thing I can do with my arm. So when she goes to do that, if I turn my elbow toward the ceiling, and again, you're strong right at the elbow, right below the elbow even. Yeah, but when my elbow points to the ceiling, it's just a different structure. This is already breaking for her, and this is strong for me. So I don't usually go around sitting like this. This is sort of like that's like how a horror movie girl walks around, right? So you won't always sit like this, but you can do it when somebody tries to break down your arm. So when she goes to do that, and if that's the first thing I do, I will buy a second. So I'll frame, and then if she continues to expend energy there, or I think I'm losing it, I can swim. And this is the low swim. My elbow can pretty much stay where it is, and I'm just going to draw a circle. Like it's a kind of a wax on, wax off thing. So she goes for my arm, I'll brace, and do the low swim. Go again, really break it down. And it's just a low swim, just a little circle. So it's not a high swim up here, it's a low swim. So we'll brace. I actually like making them waste just a little bit of energy here and then do this. Rather than she goes for my arm and we never touch. She loses energy when she works on this for a second. So I like that every time her energy meter gets used up.